Do we need men in our society? Listen to this.
Do we need men?
No.
Do we need men?
Honestly, no.
Do we need men?
No.
Why?
They suck.
Okay, well, some bad news to these man-hating feminists. I am so sorry to break this to you, but we absolutely need men. And not just for the sake of our population not dying out forever and the world coming to an end, but, well, men are imperative in the most important fields in the world. Men make up 85% of the military. That house or building you're currently sitting in, guess what? Almost 99% of construction jobs are man-made. Firemen, 92% men. Pilots, 91% men. 82% of farming jobs proudly occupied by men. And I just said the word man-made. It's something I celebrate, but it's interesting because I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? There is going to come a time, probably not too far off from now, where the word man-made is no longer even allowed to be used. I can just see the liberal nut jobs coming after the word man-made. I mean, the writing is already on the wall, as we have already seen. But back to other men-dominated industries that we would clearly suffer without. Landscapers, well over 99% men. 99% of carpenters are men. Inventors, fishermen, policemen, also all male-dominated professions. So, guys, let's just cut the BS. Even if you hate men or embody the most extreme forms of feminism, there is no way you can say that we do not need men. And don't forget, if it wasn't for a man, you would not be alive. And that is a scientific fact.
Juicy! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Nerd Chronicles with your hosts, the socially awkward nerd. Chris and Paul is up in the motherfucking building once again. And what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is basically a clip from The View that actually took place around a month ago in New York City with a past The View panel hosts. And they were basically discussing a TikTok debate whether or not women actually do need men and everything else. I'll just leave my opinion basically for the end of the video and everything else. But it basically shows a double standard when it comes to the whole men versus women debacle, and why, unfortunately, you see a lot of hardcore manosphere, hardcore toxic manosphere content that's actually going down the woodwork today, and why Myron Gaines or Fresh and Fit is actually mainly going knee-jerk, berserk on women and everything else. One of the big reasons why is content like this that I'm about to literally show you right here that creates a huge revolving door when dealing with the battle of the sexes. And I will literally discuss that later on up in this clip today. So now let's get to the video that we have on file, and we'll see what type of stuff they have based on their opinion.
So there's this clip going viral online of a dozen women being asked the following question: do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no. And only one said she thought women needed a man in their lives. Only one.
Hey man, at least the woman that actually said the ones that's yes is actually a bit more practical, and the rest of the women either actually speaking womanese or they're just basically ignorant of the fact that a lot of men that actually do blue collar work and actually run some of the jobs they have up in there. Not to discredit any women that are actually in those blue collar jobs, they actually help make the world go around. But a lot of men help create the world that they currently live in today, and without them they would have a much harder time functioning in society as of now. Just like without women, like certain stuff that they do when it comes to certain jobs and when it comes to other jobs that they've done and their smarts, as well as actually raising a family, we as men would have a much harder time functioning in society as well. So when it comes to both genders, we do rely on interdependence with one another. Not on everything, but when it comes to certain cases, when it comes to certain needs, we do rely on interdependence on one another, which at least I give this woman some credit here.
But when men were asked a similar question, do we need women? Most of them said yes.
Common sense. There we go. Because we need them to start a family, and if they have like certain smarts when it comes to certain trades, when it comes to certain skills, whether it's blue collar, white collar, we need their intellect as well. That's why many of them would say yes in a practical sense.
So why
And I just want to know why they would take it as a joke. But, you know, I don't want to try and get caught up in the trap because I see big picture here. Let's go continue up with this clip.
Do you think that is?
Because men are useless.
Hold up. So, Mrs. Anna Navarro, who is basically like a political figure up in the world here, would say men is useless even though she has a man back at home. Hold on. Let's continue what she has to say.
Love it. And by the way, I want to differentiate between straight men and gay men because
So you're saying straight men are useless, but gay men are useful. That's what you're basically saying, Mrs. Navarro. Is that what you're really trying to go with here?
I think I would die without gay men. Nobody can gossip like gay men. Nobody can help you accessorize like gay men. Nobody can help you keep you from doing harm to yourself.
And behind the scenes, whenever you want to try and have a side piece, nobody can actually help you try your bone like gay men either.
Juicy.
That's what we're going to go back to. No disrespect to the LGBT community at all. No disrespect to any gay man that's actually up in this podcast that's living his life and having their own personal relationships with their significant other and the probably like behind the scenes. I salute y'all. I do have some family members that are gay as well, and I wish them nothing but the best, and I will support them through and through. But utilizing gay men useful and then straight men are not useful? Huh? Let's continue.
Like gay men. But with the exception of somebody like Steve, I think Steve is very self-sufficient.
That's Joy's husband.
But like
He is.
my
He is.
husband, it takes a village of women to make sure that he's not emaciated, starving, and living in his own filth. He can,
Really?
you know.
Yeah.
But you guys feel you guys are married to
We're going to pause right there and let's go look into a quick clip on Mrs. Navarro's background. This is going to be literally very, very, very juicy, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, baby.
Juicy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Now we see the background of Mrs. Excuse me one second here. Mrs. Ana Navarro Cardenas, who's Nicaraguan, immigrated to the United States in 1980. And if we quickly go down to the personal life, we understand that she's deeply involved in politics and does some commentary up in The View. And basically, she is currently married to a lawyer and a political lobbyist, Al Cardenas, who is Cuban. And if we actually look into Mr. Cardenas, he is a Miami native, if it's not mistaken. He has done some some impacts in politics up in the United States, got himself involved in the United States Commerce, deals with a vice chairman in 2 terms as chairman of Florida's Republican Party. First Hispanic to lead the Macy Party there, and CPAC, in which he transitioned the chairmanship of the American Conservative Union with then chairman David King's retirement. And basically, he is a multimillionaire, if I'm not mistaken, based on his lobbyism. And yes, he has 2 wives, but yet you would basically cite men, including your husband, Mrs. Ana Navarro, as useless just because maybe, I don't know, whatever reason it is why you may think that way, even though he has a highly big impact when it comes with his job as well as with his home life. God knows what goes on up and behind the scenes. I don't know why you're actually trying to label him useless, even though you're married to your political lobbying donor strategist that actually gets involved when it deals with lobbying and money involved with politics and everything else with like other corporations when it comes with like donations and political figures, all that other good stuff, right? Why would you actually label men like a husband or even men in general as useless? I don't know why, unless you're speaking womanese of the fact you're actually dealing with a powerful figure and you would call him useless and not impactful because of that. Is that the mindset you're going, Mrs. Navarro? Is that really what the mindset what you're dealing with, Mrs. Navarro? Really? All right, continuing, ladies and gentlemen.
I have Handy Manny at home. He fixes everything. When things go bump in the night, he's the one that goes downstairs. When there's a bug to be exterminated, he does the extermination.
Nope.
When there is something to be fixed, he fixes it. He throws out the
And I don't know why this woman over here is really shaking her head, excuse me. I don't know if her husband does the same thing. I don't know what is going on with her issue. But at least Mrs. Sunny Hostin is a bit more practical in the sense. I will give her that. And she is a lawyer. She is definitely a defense lawyer, if you will.
trash and he throws out the recyclables. I enjoy all the man stuff.
So wait a second. I know what you're going to say. Wait. She's really talking about a servant. Let's face it.
Whoa. So you would try to label basically a husband actually doing like all the stuff and actually maintaining the house. You would call him a servant, but
because dogs obey.
Mm.
You ever call a cat?
Yeah, they don't
right
at all.
A cat's called man's best friend?
No. Not at all.
What's called man's best friend?
Dog.
Right. Generally, men are looking for women who are cooperative.
Okay.
And what does that mean? That you say yes. Say yes all the time. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Say yes. Don't ask questions. Just say yes.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He runs a website called the Negro Manosphere, and over there's a collective of black men who are always talking about, things that are important to us.
And in order for a modern woman to become a ideal wife, what would you per se give advice in order for her to do that?
Well, one, it depends on what kind of husband and what kind of lifestyle you want. But I can give you some general stuff, but just general advice. Generally, men are looking for women who are cooperative.
Okay.
And what does that mean? That you say yes. Say yes all the time. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Say yes. Don't ask questions. Just say yes. I mean,
that's the sense of cooperation that you're speaking of.
See? Do you think men want to be questioned about everything?
No, I'm aware that men don't like to be questioned about everything.
No. Why do men like cats and not dogs?
Because cats are more, I guess, lenient.
Because dogs obey.
Mm.
You ever call a cat?
Yeah, they don't
right
at all.
A cat's called man's best friend?
No. Not at all.
What's called man's best friend?
A dog.
Right.
if we call, basically like housewives as servants, as men or husbands, and we call housewives as servants, they basically make dinner, actually cut the plates for us and the kids, and they clean the house, they get everything done, She sucks you off like a true king would, as he gets you like some good old hard-earned scrambled eggs, becomes the best eggplant moisturizer as possible, and we call them service. All of a sudden, the vast majority of women, especially in the mainstream, would literally become outraged. They would literally lose their minds. They would literally lose their shit. They would go berserk. They would literally call for cancellation on my channel. They would call for a deplatformization of any social media platform that I'm on. Probably being like the next Andrew Tate being the platform, if you will, and demonetized. They would call for my demonetization. If I would literally label them as servants, but if it's the other way around, you don't see that much outrage that's going on up in these streets. Clear cut double standard, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a handyman she's talking about.
it's a handyman. Oh, it's a handyman with benefits.
We do not have, but
there we go.
That you're describing,
Juicy.
you could pay somebody to do that. We're not talking about that.
But at least he does it for free out of love of his woman. So you don't have to worry about it. Actually go pay a handyman hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get things done. They save money in the house, right?
What about the inner life of a man? That's what this is about.
I need my man 3 to 4 times a week. And
Good for you guys.
then
Juicy.
the rest of
Juicy.
the time I need a wife. Because I've always said that.
Everyone needs a wife.
No, I teased Vicky, my producer, in the morning. I was like, if you'd like to join Max and I, not in that way, but like Vicky and I
Miss Sarah Haynes in the building, huh?
could kill it as household runners. Like we would be laughing, giggling, doing all the things, and Max would be so psyched I was wasting all my words somewhere else anyway. So it would be a perfect combo. And the other day, Caleb said to me, this is my youngest son, he said, Mama, I want a spare mom. And I didn't know what he meant. And he's like, he said, Genevieve has a spare mom. And I realized that
Basically, in his mind, like a nanny, just like I had growing up. That's what the young boy is actually explaining here.
parents
that,
were
a
divorced.
nanny?
No, divorced.
Oh, not really the nanny. I'll take that back. A divorced mom. So it's basically the previous mom, basically the mom and the stepmom. That's what the young child's describing. Oh, man, this is wild, man.
An extra mom, like 2 moms. And so I asked him, because at first I was a little wounded. I was like, what am I not doing? And he's like, no, I just think at bedtime, you always have to pay attention to the other kids too. And if we had a spare mom, dad, and you could, then you just get to focus on me. And it was so sweet. He didn't ask for a spare dad, by the way. He asked for a spare mom.
Maybe because he didn't grow up with a spare dad or anything like that, unless you have to unless you're going with a new man with a spare dad. I don't know why, but the young boy is young. He's young. He's learning. I'm not gonna put too much heat on him.
Totally differently in how I prep because broadly speaking, I feel like men have proven largely useless. Like I think in the political moment, the people who are
don't hold back.
In the political moment, they're largely useless too. Maybe in terms of certain parties, but what about Donald Trump? What about Joe Biden? What about Barack Obama? And Ben Bernanke? What about him? What about Bloomberg? What about all the politicians that you have up in Capitol Hill, the White House, the Supreme Court, if you will? Especially we have a lot of male judges there. Your local politicians, your state politicians, your federal politicians, federal law enforcement, local and state as well. Definitely men and women. They're definitely used to because they have their own smarts in the game and they have their own experience as to why they're actually serviceable for their jobs. But you will label a lot of the men that actually work in those fields as useless. I don't know why. It does not make sense to me. But let's see what this political speaker and View host is saying here.
What needs to be said in my party, it's all women. The very few men, with the exception of Mike Pence and a few others, are saying what they need to. But in life, I need my husband. I don't know if I need any other men, but he is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think
At least
Juicy.
Like our husbands, we just don't need men beyond that.
Yeah, wait till you're married 20 years and you'll see how replaceable
Well, the
they
reason
are.
that women, I think that
Anybody can be replaceable. The bird goes on how long you say anybody can be replaceable. But when it comes to intangibles, you can't fully replace those things. But when you try and dangle it in front of your partner's face, that partner is going to lead to a threat because he or she's going to feel like she's not needed at all. And if she's not needed, why is she here? That's the issue right there. That is literally the issue right
the
there.
reason women can stay married for as long as they do is because they have a lot of girlfriends.
They have a village.
They have girlfriends. Because I always have to initiate the conversations. He'll step
But it's a past experience, but it doesn't apply to every single man, though, Mrs. Joy.
up. But I have
I
to
thought you were going to
start
say
them.
initiate.
Oh, I don't-
and was like, no,
I just
I don't
told you guys, I have 8 girlfriends from Panama here who are girlfriends for 50 years since they were in kindergarten.
Oh, I love
And it's that, and they were saying yesterday that they've gone through divorces, they've gone through challenges, and having that village of women has made it possible.
Well, we
for
are
them.
more collaborative than men. I think there have been studies that say that women have much closer friendship relationships than men do.
Because
And I would like to ask Mrs. Suni Hostin, if you don't mind me asking, where can I find those studies that actually back up your claim? Where can I find the studies specifically so I can try to look them up, see if I can try to run the numbers as a data analyst? How am I able to actually find the information? Where can I find the clinical studies on women actually having more friendlier time than men, if that's what you're claiming? Where can I find those studies from? Because I know they have a sample size involved within a certain time frame. I need to see where they are and what sites they are located so I can actually take a look at it myself and verify. I would like to see that.
Again, I think we have to make a difference.
Not trying to dismiss your claim, but I want to try and double check and verify it to be sure.
Women differentiate gay men.
No, gay men are
in their own category.
yeah, but we're not married to gay men, okay?
Oh.
But women have conversations about their feelings. Men talk about
It's
sports,
socializing,
cars, all that stuff.
I don't know.
Right, because women a lot of times mainly lead with emotion. Men a lot of times mainly lead with a lot of logic. And yes, men and women, they can be emotional and logical at the same time, but so a lot of men basically mainly lead with logic, and a lot of women mainly lead with emotions, but it can vary from person to person to person, depending on that person's mindset at the end of the day. Some men may not be interested in sports. They can be interested in video games. They can be interested in racing. They can be interested in hiking and all that stuff, weightlifting, all these other things. They can be interested in being like a hardcore geek. And women, they could do like the same other stuff. They could be interested in house cleaning as well, depending on the mindset of that particular person, which is what you will be dealing with, basically in real life.
About his feelings with his
Maybe he's gay. Next.
Oh, man. A lot of folks, some of you are enjoying this. Coming from an executive producer who is a man. We got some men that are actually executive producers of the show The View, as well as a man that currently runs the Walt Disney Company by the name of Bob Iger. But according to Mrs. Anna Navarro and some of The View panelists, men are useless, basically meaning that Bob Iger is useless too, as well as the male executive producer up in the show. Unless Christian is a little bit insane, and basically what they're trying to say is they're basically speaking womanese. Juicy, juicy, juicy.
Juicy.
I am going to do some final analysis on this in a bit. Let me give myself a moment.
Now it's funny how you have mainstream outlets, allowing a lot of women to actually say stuff like men are useless and like men are not impactful and men are garbage, men ain't shit, this and that, all up in the news streams, all over the mainstream media, but if it's said on the specific mainstream, not on social media, but specifically on the mainstream saying, hey, women should obey like dogs, women should, basically be servants and everything else. Women should follow the fresh and fit method, calling them bitches and whores mainly all the time. A lot of cases, a lot of the women really come for that particular man's head or not support any businesses that this guy is having unless he is out or unless he deals with a public apology. Now, I could be wrong. I could be dealing with I may be wrong maybe on that. I'll double check and make sure. But that's what I'm hearing up in the streets. I haven't even seen that much male outlets really talk the way that, the View ladies are actually mainly talking about. We literally get canceled right away if that would be the case. You know what I mean? And the main reason being why you're seeing a lot of depressed, dejected young men that have yet to reach their potential. Like basically distressed about what's going on. Had some shortcomings up in their lives. You wonder why these types of men mainly join like the deep, dark rabbit hole of the manosphere? It's a commentators like this. Now, on the flip side, as like the manosphere is not really exempt from it either. The whole general manosphere as a play really generalized as not really exempt from this whole situation either. When you hear that type of breath that's going on up in the general manosphere, on the flip side at the same time, saying that women should act like dogs obey, women should do all the cooking and cleaning. They do not deserve to have any other position in the house. All women should be voted out of political office because they should be belonging and they should basically be up in the residential house, just cooking, cleaning, everything else. They shouldn't be doing nothing else but those things and really ending children. When they hear some stuff like that, it's going to make a lot of women mainly turn up into the deep, dark rabbit hole of the feminist movement also. Which is why I want to try and be very careful on how I actually try to explain this out in pure balance. And what you get, ladies and gentlemen, is basically a revolving door of like classes between the ballot sexes. Just like when you're dealing with the revolving door of gang banging and like turf wars and anything like that going up in the hood between rival gangs. This is what you're seeing with the revolving door when it comes to the ballot sexes, due to naive, immature people, that don't even fully know better, that haven't really had fully healthy relationships as of yet, whether it's with family, whether it's like significant others, anything else may be, haven't really done too much research, haven't been that practical and lived their life experience on what an actual relationship is like. They have all this game, but whenever like another person of the opposite sex comes by and literally rocks their world, in a lot of cases, it basically may shape their point of view and actually change their views and like how they separate things from relationship, given their personal experience. Others may actually just disregard that and actually just go to the whole views and just focus on not count due to some very, very deep seated hurtful traumas that they live with up in their lives. And what I would like for the women to, I want to try and give advice to some of the women and the young women that are listening up in the stream is to please, please, please be more practical when it comes to dealing with this stuff in that nature, because I know there's men and women working every single field for sure. Yes, men make up the majority of the blue collar jobs, which is definitely impactful. Women actually play some roles in it as well, certain roles, and I know there's a few women that actually mainly held those blue collar roles and specialty roles that they have, and we salute those types of women for mainly doing so. And like without them, we wouldn't even see the diversity that we got going on today. Now, I would say this, whoever those A roles best, had not been for them, we would not have the society that we have today. And all I'm telling women is just please don't dismiss men like they just some pure objects that you hand a ship and thinking they automatic robots just to actually make your life complete. None of this is we living when you're dealing with all the white collar jobs, when you're dealing with all the stuff that you work indoors, all the shopping that you're doing, all the hours that you mainly get. None of this stuff wouldn't be happening if it hadn't been for the blue collar efforts, and in some cases the white collar efforts, every lot of men up in society. So that's what I'm saying. Just please, please put respect on their name just as we want us to put respect on yours. You know what I mean? You have to be very, very respectful. And as I say before, respect is currency. Respect must be earned. And in order to actually earn respect, you got to give it as well in order to actually get the respect that you need. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be thoroughly humble when dealing with certain things. You know what I'm saying? Just be humble about it. Be practical. You know what I'm saying? Understand that life is basically reliant on interdependence between people. When it comes to certain genders and how people operate, men and women are interdependent in one another when it comes to most important cases, when it comes to making kids, when it comes to dealing with marriages, when it comes to dealing with relationships. Men and women at times need to be interdependent in order for these things to work. And even when it comes to jobs, blue collar and white collar, when it comes to each and every individual, whether it's male, female, intersex, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Men and women rely on interdependence within one another in order to keep the job going. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If you're not being for that, if you actually try to dismiss men and actually treat them like objects and everything else, don't be surprised if you see like another Marvin Gaines lookalike basically write a book saying why women deserve less because of all the stuff that's basically going on in the world. Not to say that I support Marvin's book at all whatsoever, because I clearly don't. I think it's actually foolish him to actually try and make something like this. But you could create another crazy management incel literally losing his mind or literally losing his shit just because of some trauma they experienced with some woman that's treating him like crap and treating him disrespectfully. You know what I mean? That's something I don't want. And then as for you dudes out there that's actually hooked on this pseudo alpha guru and bullshit and everything else, you have to actually give respect towards women as well. Whether she's your mom, whether she's your aunt or cousin or your sister, you want to actually treat them with the most proper respect. And any woman, whether she's a stripper or the president of the United States or even a female entrepreneur, you want to actually treat women with the same level of respect as you do your own mom. And if they treat you like garbage, just ghost and walk the fuck away. You ain't got to do that nonsense. You ain't got to belittle her, do none of that nature. You ain't got to call her bitch, slut, whore, and all this other stuff. Just walk the fuck away and let her go. And don't be speaking to her again. You feel what I'm saying? Don't be going on this crazy rant saying why women deserve less because the relationships are changing and everything else. That stuff is far gone now. Technology is changing. Society is literally evolving. We're seeing AI coming to the fold now. You see roads drastically evolve based on what's going on in the current economy, based on what's been really going on today. So it's going to be like a lot of new definition of roles that's mainly coming on between men and women. And we as men need to find other ways that we need to lead by example, as well as become better leaders, and how we can actually adjust to this exponential change that we have going on right now. And it starts with leading, key word, leading by example. And what's the best way to lead by example is you actually have to give respect to other people, and you also have to show humility to other people. Without that, if you actually play arrogance, you actually just go demanding and actually not even get a reason, you command orders without any reason, saying, hey, I need you to do this, say yes, yes, yes. Guess what's going to happen? You may be dealing with a resentful and combative woman. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be treating women like dogs saying they got to obey. You got to actually try to make sure you have them listen to understand you. You have to make sure that they listen to respond. And if you actually get them tasks, explain to them your reason and give them some details of why you need this stuff done. And if a reasonable, understandable woman would actually fully fill you out, she'll definitely follow your lead. If she's not willing to understand, she's not willing to actually play along, she wants to contest and combat every single player, what she's doing, then fine. That's your right to literally let her go and let her be. You ain't gotta deal with that. You gotta deal with that type of woman at all. Just go find some other woman that's gonna be way more cooperative, not in terms of being like a dog, but cooperative in terms of listening to respond and seeing they can find some practical way where they agree, or they may find a better idea. Just actually keep the whole thing going, or actually keep the whole strategy moving, so that it will be a win-win for both you and her. All right. And I want to actually say to the ladies this. Listen to respond. If you're in a significant man, just listen to respond to your man. Make sure you actually try and keep him comfy. Make sure you try to keep him welcomed. So you actually try to mitigate all the tension. Make sure everything is mainly smooth, so you don't have to have any issues when it comes to relationships and all these other things. You know what I mean? Without the basis and without the foundation of respect, in regards of what status, whether you being acquaintances, friends, relationship, married, fuck buddies, however it is, husband, wives, however it is, the interaction would literally be shot, and y'all will literally feel like strangers. And don't worry, ladies, I got some very special cooking up for you when it comes to this whole ordeal, when it comes to the boss man mentality. I just got clouded to dealing with all this other content and everything else when it comes to what I got to be dealing with. But I will promise you that will be coming very shortly, as quickly as I can. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Chris and Paul from the Nerd Chronicles is signing out. Be wary of the craziness that's been going on with the revolving door.